Hello Facebook. How's everybody doing? We're live again for another session of the Middletown Area Historical Society's Middletown History Vault. We're going to open up the vault today and we're going to talk about the Middletown Resolves. As people are coming in, let us know where you're coming from, where you're signing in from. Click on one of those emojis and let us know that you're here and that you're watching. Today we are live from Hoffer Park. And you might say, well, what's Hoffer Park have to do with Middletown history? There's a few things. Well, first off, Hoffer Park is over 100 years old. It was actually land given to the borough for recreational purposes, and it served a couple different purposes throughout the year. From the electric department, had a social hall here. But what it most held was the Middletown Area Historical Society's annual Arts and Crafts Fair, which was supposed to be yesterday, June 13th of this year. Unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, that fair had to be canceled. The fair has been here for 45 years, and it's one of the biggest fundraisers for the Middletown Area Historical Society. Unfortunately, that loss this year was a huge loss to them. So as I say in every video, if you have it on your heart and history is something you'd like to help Middletown Historical Society help collect, preserve, and teach, consider sending a donation to 29 East Main Street in Middletown, Pennsylvania 17057, and help the Middletown Historical Society continue to collect and preserve and teach about the great history of Middletown, Pennsylvania. Now, we all talk about this fair, and those from town all know why we have the fair. It's for the Historical Society. It's every summer. But do you really know why we have it? The reason why we have it is about today's topic, the Middletown Resolves. The Middletown Resolves were a group of resolutions formally protesting the oppressive acts of Great Britain in the Parliament against the American colonists. The resolves were written on June 10th, 1774 by Colonel James Byrd. He worked with a group of residents to put those resolves together. It's essentially Middletown's Declaration of Independence, which was written 2 years prior to our country adopting their own Declaration of Independence. A man by the name of Elijah Wickersham would present the resolves to the first meeting of the General Committee of Lancaster County. You say, well, why Lancaster County? Dauphin County didn't exist then. Middletown was part of Lancaster County, and then later Dauphin County came into the existence, and that's where Middletown was set. It's believed that Thomas Jefferson actually asked for copies of the resolves so that he could consider some of the wording for our nation's Declaration of Independence. Now, the Middletown Resolves is not the only resolves around. Actually, the oldest is the Hanover Resolves. Hanover Resolves were written on June 4th, 1774, 6 days prior to Middletowns. Now, the resolves were helped written by Colonel James Byrd. James Byrd came to the United States. He was from Edinburgh, Scotland, around that area, born on March 3rd of 1726. He would come to the Philadelphia area. He would later meet Sarah Shippen and would marry her. Sarah Shippen is the daughter of Edward Shippen, who was the founder of today's Shippensburg that we all know of. 1776, Byrd would build a 2.5-story stone house that's called Tinian, which still stands today in what we know as Lower Swatara Township. Byrd would fight in the French and Indian Wars and is always involved in the militia. He retired in 1765. He would help write the resolves, and he actually would sign those resolves as well. And he would take part in the beginning of the Revolutionary War. James Byrd would die on October 5th, 1793, and he's actually buried along with Sarah Shippen just inside the Middletown Cemetery. So these resolves are pretty important. In Middletown, from my knowledge and from what we've researched, is one of the only towns that actually celebrates those resolves with the Middletown Arts and Crafts Fair that occurs every year. So I'm going to turn the camera around here. I have a couple displays. We're going to show you what an interpretive representation of the Middletown Resolves may have looked like. And they read: the Middletown Resolves, we present the following resolutions on this, the 10th of June, 1774. That the Acts of Parliament of Great Britain, in divesting us of the right to give and grant our money, and assuming such power to themselves, are unconstitutional, unjust, and oppressive. 2. That it is an indispensable duty we owe to ourselves and prosperity to oppose with decency and firmness every measure tending to deprive us of our just rights and privileges. 3. That a closer union of the colonies and their faithful adhering to such measures as a General Congress shall judge proper, and the most likely means to procure redress of American grievances and settle the rights of the colonies on a permanent basis. 4. That we will sincerely and heartily agree to and abide by the measures which shall be adopted by the members of the General Congress of the colonies. And 5. That a committee be appointed to confer with similar committees relative to the present exigency of affairs. Now, this would have probably been signed by numerous people at the bottom, just like our Declaration of Independence would have been signed. But this is an interpretive representation of what those resolves may look like. We continue to research to try to find out and see if there's an actual physical copy somewhere in an archive in Pennsylvania. Now, this image here is Mr. James Byrd himself. He is who helped write our Middletown Resolves, which are so important to us today. And another little piece here I have. This would have been the last flag that the American colonies would have used under the rule of Great Britain. And of course, the Betsy Ross flag, which once we became an independent country, we flew with our first 13 states. Now, we have the Declaration of Independence, which was July 4th, 1776, but the United States wouldn't actually be recognized as an independent country by Great Britain until 1783, with the Treaty of Paris being signed. So, Middletown should be proud. We have a set of resolves that we declared our independence as a town before our country did, along with some other towns. We take pride in that. We celebrate that every year. On the Saturday closest to June 10th, Middletown has declared that Middletown Independence Day. Next year's fair will be held on June 12th, 2021. We're super excited about that opportunity to bring the fair back for the 46th year. If you have an opportunity, check out the Middletown Area Historical Society's website, www.middletownarea.historicalsociety.org, for more historical information and to read more about the resolves and other historical buildings and properties in Middletown. We thank you for joining us today. Please leave a comment. We'll get back to you as quickly as we can. Let us know where you're coming from. And again, if history is part of your life and it's something that you enjoy, consider making a contribution to the Middletown Area Historical Society. They are a 501c nonprofit organization. Send that check to 29 East Main Street, Middletown, Pennsylvania, 17057. Thank you all very much and have a wonderful day. And just a reminder, next week we will not be going live. We will be back in 2 weeks where we're going to talk about toys. Thank you everyone and have a wonderful day.